Welcome back to Power and Politics. It's not only candidates who are campaigning for your vote in the federal election. More than 30 interest groups are also trying to get their voices heard. They are registered third parties in this campaign, hoping to sway opinion on voting day. And one of those groups, Leadnow, launched its own campaign today with a rather ambitious goal. The so-called Vote Together campaign aims to rally together voters in close ridings to coordinate, quote, strategic voting. And they're taking aim at Stephen Harper and the Conservative Party. Here's Leadnow's election campaign manager, Amara Possian.
I think we're doing something that the political parties have shown they can't do. I think we're putting issues first. We have a 500,000 person supporter base across the country that cares about an open democracy, a fair economy, and a clean environment. And they can see that the Harper Conservatives are getting in the way. So we've come together to defeat them on October 19th so that we can push the political parties to work together for progress on the stuff we care about.
So should third parties be able to play a role in federal elections? How effective is strategic voting anyway? The Power Panel is going to dig into that coming up.
I think it's definitely fair to fight for what you believe in. It's clear that the electoral system is broken. And so by engaging just through voting and electing representatives who are supposed to represent us, it isn't working. So we've come together to organize outside the political system in order to have an impact on October 19th.
A third-party interest group has launched a campaign to defeat Conservative candidates across the country. They've asked voters to promise to cast their ballot for whichever candidate, red, orange, green, has the numbers to try to defeat the blue team. Welcome back to PMP and the Power Panel. Still here, Tasha Kheiriddin, Gerry Caplan, Alvaro. Okay, so this is a third-party interest group promoting tactical voting strategy. My questions, is this part of the game now? And does tactical voting work? Gerry, I want to hear you first on this.
Well, I think I'd like to say one thing about Leadnow. Hooray, is what I'd like to say. I don't know who they. I should tell you, I don't know who they are. I've never met any of them, but they are clearly progressive. I take it youngish people who know how to work social media. They're the people Susan Delacour will write about in her revised version of her book. People who use new techniques to get things accomplished. The second thing that works on their behalf is that the Conservative government over the last 8 or 9 years has gone out of its way to really piss off just about everybody who doesn't believe completely in what it's doing. And so there are lots of people around the country, I'm happy to say, Rosie, whose main aim in this campaign is to make sure that Mr. Harper is not reelected.
Okay, but what about why not just say we support X party and we're going to promote this party? What about because the tactical voting doesn't always turn out the way you want it to, right?
No,
Trying to,
right.
So it's a risky kind of business to be in.
It is for sure, and we don't know at all how it's going to work out. But it's the first time, to my knowledge, that it's ever been done in this kind of systematic, individualized basis, so that each person who is interested, who responds to them, will find out the situation in their riding. In the past, when some of the unions, like the Canadian Auto Workers, went off half-cocked and decided they supported something called strategic voting, what it really was an attempt to get their people to vote Liberal, and that successfully happened. But unless you know your riding, unless you know the history of your riding, unless you know the odds of who might win, depending on the last results, it can't possibly win. That's the problem, and that's what these people are trying to correct. And I think it's a fascinating experiment, and obviously I hope it works.
Correct. Tasha, I'll just say that on their website you can actually punch in your area code, and then you get the history of what's happened in the riding to help you make those kinds of decisions. But Tasha, what do you make of this idea?
Well, it's obviously easy to motivate people against things they don't like. And this is this sort of anybody but Conservative type or anybody but Harper type movement. And there will be people who want to get rid of the Conservatives. And we've seen the effect of that in the last election, 2011, for example, with the increase in the NDP vote in Quebec, where it was a decision strategically by a lot of voters saying, the Bloc is not going to do it. We've got to vote. We want to get him out. We've got to vote for this other party. So, this isn't the first time this has been done, but to do it in an organized way, it's kind of like a giant experiment. I mean, people in a democracy are free to do what they want. Whether they succeed is another thing. If they fall prey to what's called clicktivism, there's already been some warnings to them based on the British Labour experience with this, that it's not enough to just get on social media. You got to go door to door, which is what I understand they are now doing. Obviously, they've learned from that.
Amanda, what do you make of it?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think that they've definitely jumped on the bandwagon, which is the change momentum that we're seeing across the country, and I think that that's a fair place to be. This isn't the first time that we've seen something like this, too. And I think that this comment has been made to such an organized state, yes, but third parties have influenced votes provincially, federally, even municipally for many elections. And we've certainly seen examples of this even in more stark way in the US and the UK, as you mentioned. So I think that the fact that they've taken it to the next level, that this isn't just about social media, but as been mentioned, the fact that they could be going door to door, that there might be a more concerted effort to get people to consider strategic voting. The problem is that they're faced with having to compete against well-funded campaigns, an entire, source of media. People are getting their information from all kinds of sources. This will just be one piece of a rather large pie.
Yeah,
and they have another thing that's driving them that I think is very helpful for them, which is a growing discontent among many Canadians about the first past the post.
Yeah, I was going to bring
process.
that up. Good point.
This is, I think, one of the key things that motivates them and that bothers so many Canadians. The Conservatives, Mr. Harper, hadn't won his majority with 39% of the vote, and it's not unique. All kinds of governments have won with far less than even 40% of the vote, which means that a strong majority of the country opposes them, and this is pushing these people as well.
This will push, though. Gerry, this will push in the end. You'll be splitting the vote across the country in the sense that you'll be probably not electing enough to create any kind of majority government for either the Liberals or the NDP, who are the other choices, so to speak.
Well, that's
what
the
I
choice
see here,
though,
what I see here is the real reason why this election was called early. One of the main reasons, I think, is because these folks are limited to spending about $8,000 per riding association, so it's $400,000 and change nationally because of the election spending limits, which kicked in once the campaign became official. Had it not, they would have been free to spend as much as they wanted until the start of the writ period.
And I don't think you can underscore the importance of that funding position. The fact that they've disclosed that it's a crowd-funded sourced campaign that relies on the goodwill of people funding this campaign against all of the other asks. So how influential they are is directly correlated to how much money they can get in their pockets in order to be putting out this message. And not
but they are
just
limited in how much they can spend. That's the thing. No matter how they could raise $50,000 in a riding, they can't drop it there. So they are also limited by that.
And Gerry, why would you put your money there and not with a political party? Like, why wouldn't you, especially if you're trying to affect real electoral change, why wouldn't you say, oh, this party has a plan that makes sense for me, so I'm going to park my money here and I'm going to spend my time here?
Well, look, I think partisans like us have to acknowledge, not you, Rosie, of course, like the three of us have to acknowledge that not everyone in Canada, to understate it dramatically, feels strongly about a particular party, but a lot of people have some kind of free-floating ideology, and a lot of people call themselves progressives, and they don't know what to do between the NDP and the Liberals. This will help them. And I think that's a very positive thing. And if in the end it helps establish a conservative minority with a large majority put together by the NDP and the Liberals, then I give that 3 cheers.
Last word to you, Tasha.
Well, I was going to say, what it reminds me of, though, in the sense that they don't have a specific agenda, is the Occupy Wall Street movement, which for a long time people thought was going to make a huge difference, but in the end fell on its sword because it just couldn't decide what it was.
And this, too, this might not work at all.
Exactly.
We just have no idea, but it sure seems to me fascinating.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll keep watching it. Thanks, everybody. Good Power panel today. Gerry
Thank
Caplan,
you.
Alvaro, and Tasha Kheiriddin. Thanks. Okay, that's Power and Politics for today. 60 days to go. I'm Rosemary Barton.